All right, so today would be the introductory session, which would be slightly brief than the usual. So every single session would be about 2 hours max. But for today, we would be running this over an hour max, being the introductory class. So I have a few things to quickly run through, and then this will be much more interactive. But again, this is just going to set the pace for the conversation and for the course of the training. First is I would like that we get to know ourselves. That's the first thing. Actually, on this call, we're supposed to be eight, including myself. So we have 7 participants at this time and myself. But it seems that on the call now we have four of us. Somebody dropped off, so we are left. We are back to 4 people. But we would continue, and then we hope that others will join while we proceed with this conversation. So I like to know us, and the things I would like to know is, of course, I can see our names, but it would be good if you still want to tell us a bit more about yourself, your name, where you're from, and then you want to talk to us about whether you're engaged. By engagements here, I mean whether you're currently employed, working in any capacity whatsoever, and what are your expectations from this course. So you tell us about yourself, you let us know what your current engagement is like, and you also tell us about your expectation from this course. So who would start? We're starting, or I should call somebody. Okay, let me go by the cell ladies first, right? Jumilad. I think that's a lady. What do you want to go first? Everyone will speak, so definitely will still go around. Can you still hear me, please? Just to confirm.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir. Um, okay. Please, do you want to go, sir? So that your assistants take the lead.
Okay, I am Adidamla by name. I'm a researcher currently in
Okay.
Unilag. And yes, my expectation from this course, I've started a few learning on my own. However, being a researcher, I am more interested in visualization. So,
Okay.
and that's what brought me into the year of Power BI. I
Mm-hmm.
have elementary knowledge about SQL. Excel
Mm-hmm.
is something I've used before, but I'm not vast in Excel. So when I saw the course outline,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, let me go for this at least, just for the purpose of having an hands-on experience in terms of the Power BI.
Mm-hmm.
So the visualization aspect of it, actually, it has to do with, I don't know how I'll put it here, but I love communicating something with data.
Mm-hmm.
So since I'm working more on data, being able to communicate well with data, so that's the little I can say now, except there is any other thing you want to ask me, then I will respond.
Okay. Thanks a lot for that, sir. How long have you been in the research space? And are there some specific tools that you use?
It's not been long, actually. It's like the last 6 months.
Okay.
And I've only used SQL. I've tried a bit of Power BI projects, at least two or three,
Okay.
though, because I did something for someone this December, and there were commendations, but I want to know more. That's just
Okay.
why I intend joining the class.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, sir. You're welcome
You're
to the
welcome.
class.
Thank you.
All right. So, Babatunde, are you here with us?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me? Okay. My
Yes,
name
I
is
can.
Usman Babatunde. I'm calling in from Lagos State.
Okay.
Currently, I am working as a process engineer for Dangote Fertilizer Limited.
Okay.
Um, my expectation for this course is at the end of the course, I want to be, let me say, intermediate level. I want to be able to solve real life data analytics question because my hope later is to have enough knowledge and
Mhm.
expertise, not necessarily at the end of this program, but by the end of the year, enough expertise for me to be able to get side gigs while I'm still working, get
Mhm.
side gigs before eventually attempting a full pivot into
Okay.
the data space. So this is just for me to get to know okay, the fundamentals. And then
Okay.
hopefully by the end of the year, I want to be able to say, okay, yeah, I want to pivot. But yeah, that is it
Okay.
for me.
Thanks a lot for that. And I like the fact that you want to start with side gigs. I think anything side seems good, right? So, how long have you been in the process space? You said you're a process engineer, right?
Yes, so let's say 6 years now. I joined okay. Before now I was working with Coca-Cola Hellenic. So I worked there for 2 years before my current role. Also 6 years now. By 14th of this month, I will be 6 years.
Okay. So you were at Coca-Cola when Engineer Idris was there.
Engineer Idris. I don't know. I don't know
Don't know.
that.
Okay.
Is it in Ikeja plant? If he's in Ikeja plant, I worked in Ikeja plant. So,
Yes, I think he was there before he moved to Canada, I suppose.
okay, probably.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. So it's good to have you. Osman is your first name, right?
Babatunde is my first name. Usman is my surname. Mahmoud is my
Okay.
middle.
Okay. So it's fine if I address you as Babatunde.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, and you're welcome to the course.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Ikechukwu, are you here?
Hello,
Yeah,
can
you're
you hear
welcome, sir.
me? Yes. Yes, good evening. My name is IK for short. Ikichuku is the full name.
Mhm.
I currently work with Promasido. I'm a business process analyst. But
Okay.
beyond that, also a project manager. The whole idea of having to join this course is basically to get the fundamentals of understanding the art and science of what data analysis is, considering once I get a grasp of it, it would affect me at work,
Mm.
such that I can also get better opportunities in the workspace anywhere around the world.
Mhm.
So for me, it is for self-development, for career progression, and to make more money.
Apparently, I think that should be a goal for everybody on the call. I believe so. Yeah. So they say we use money to make money, I believe. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike. It's good to have you join us. Jumilat, are you here now?
Yeah. Good evening. I hope everybody's
Evening.
hearing. Yeah.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Yeah. My network here has been so terrible. I'm Kolawole Olajumoke. I'm actually an accountant, not practicing. I finished management and accounting from OAU some 23 years ago. I've been into business as an entrepreneur, but I came across Lita last year and I had interest in data analysis.
All
Hello,
right, thank you. I'm back.
can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Please go on.
Okay. So it's through Lita that I got to know about this. I finished with okay. I finished with Lita now, as in from accounting into entrepreneur. Now I want to go into uh, data analysis fully. so that I can expand and get better offers.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. How long have you been in accounting?
Accounting, I finished 23 years ago.
23 years ago, and you've been practicing since then.
No, that's why I
Oh,
said that I've been an entrepreneur all along. I worked
okay,
briefly in bank, very
okay,
briefly, but since then I've been on my own. So now I want to go into a workforce fully.
okay. And you're looking at data analysis, enhancing
Yes,
your opportunities.
yes.
Okay, okay. It's good to have you join us. Thanks a lot. Your first name is Jumoke, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay, good. All right. Thank you so much for that. Let's quickly take Abdul. Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, my name is Abdul Hamid, and I'm sorry I joined late. I've been having issues with my signal. So
No.
it's just like a new adventure for me. I just want to learn the data analytics. I want to have a very broad idea. I don't have any power knowledge to this one.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to, you understand, get into the system and know much about this. It's more like a
Okay.
new adventure for me now.
Okay. Do you mind telling us what your background is like and what you've been up to?
Okay, so I did chemistry first degree, and the second degree I did analytical chemistry as well. So um and at the moment I work with Department of Work and Pension, so it's not really, but I might be of use it might be of use. It will be of use. Let me just put it like that. The data analyst might be of use in the future, but at the moment I work with Department of Work and Pension. And what can I say? That's basically all about me, basically.
Okay. Okay.
Is there if there's
Thank
anything else I'm sorry I feed it on.
No, no.
Sorry.
So essentially, you've captured. It's telling us about yourself, what you currently
Mhm.
do, and then what your expectation about the course is.
Yeah,
So
that's
which
how
I
I feel
believe,
basically.
yeah, yeah. So that's okay. Thanks a lot, everyone, for our introduction. The major essence of this for me is I like to know us, especially because this is a virtual world. And this course is not happening in a physical location. So it's good that we have a bit of information about ourselves. Hopefully, someday we might have the opportunity to catch up with ourselves. And secondly, for everybody on the call, is that when we have a class like this, I like to create an avenue where people can, maybe in the near future, you might have the privilege to collaborate with one another. And this would come in play if we get to know a bit about ourselves, our background, where we currently work, what our aspirations are, and some sort. So that's the major reason for this. And for from all of the expectations, I could gather that for some of us, or most of us, we're starting out. Somebody, one or two, we have some bit of knowledge about what analysis entails and a few of the tools. But again, it's this class would start from the very scratch. So we have no cost to fear if we are going to skip any part of the foundation or the fundamentals. We would not skip any part of that, and we have designed it in a way that when we would be getting the foundation very solid by God's grace, and then we would be able to build up from there. So that is we as participants. So for me, this is myself. My name is Mohsin, Mohsin Hamid. I like to say Mohsin H because I like to force people to call me Mohsin. So for every one of us, I think every one of us on the call, we probably from Nigeria. Maybe we know Lagos, and we know that there's a location that is close to my name. So people tend to call me that location, but when they have an alternative, they tend to call me by my surname. So when I introduce myself or when I write, I tend to just shorten my surname. So you're forced to call the name, and I tell you it's not the location, but it's the person. So my name is Mohsin. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. I have a couple of other Microsoft certifications. I've been in this space since 2019, sort of, and I've trained quite a number of people. Actually, before my current engagement, I was with a training and consulting firm. So I was involved in a lot of data related training. So, and here we'll see I also train on the Power Platform. So Microsoft Power Platform, that's the low code suite for Microsoft, which within it we have the Microsoft Power BI. I've coming from consulting as well, and outside of the 9 to 5 engagement, I've built analytics systems for clients across various industries. And I do a lot of community related activities as well. So maybe for a few of us that probably we're connected on LinkedIn, you would have information about some of the things that I do outside of the workforce or the workplace. So at the moment in Nigeria, we have the Power Platform community, and the Power Platform, I earlier defined it as the low-code suite for Microsoft. So we have a community here in Nigeria, and for the community, I serve in the capacity of the community technical officer as at this time. And so that's for Nigeria. And for Oyo State, where I am from, I am a co-lead for the community in Oyo State. So at ID Analytics, the lead facilitator. This implies that this course, I won't be the only person to facilitate the course. I have a very good colleague of mine who would facilitate some aspect of this training as well. But for the major parts, you probably will be hearing my voice. And at the moment, I work at Promasido as a group BI developer, and part of the previous community engagement. So we have a platform in Nigeria also called Data Jobs Nigeria. Essentially on this platform, people share opportunities. So maybe there are organizations who are looking to hire analysts, or, they want to hire people around analytics sort of, because many times when people are seeking for analyst roles, they tend to search with just data analysts. So there are a lot of roles that are related to analytics that are not called data analysts. So operational analyst, commercial analyst, sales analyst, a lot of those. So on the group, some of those opportunities are shared. And for that particular community, I served as the program manager. So I left that already last year. So this is a brief about myself. I know that as we go on with our engagement and this conversation, we definitely will get to know ourselves a lot better. For this training, we have some set of rules. And these rules are not to make life difficult for ourselves. It's just so that we have a serene environment, we make the environment or the atmosphere conducive for ourselves. It's so that we have a well-coordinated atmosphere where learning can take place. So the first of them is punctuality. We have fixed the time for this training to be starting at 5 p.m. West African time. This I would like to implore every one of us to try as much as possible to join the call before 5 p.m. Yes, many of us, we are on the call at 5 p.m. today, and a few persons maybe after 5 p.m. But please, 5 p.m. is the time for the class. We would be starting at exactly 5 p.m., God willing. So if there are things that we need to adjust in our schedules to make this work, please be open about it. Let's talk to ourselves about it so that we see if there is anything we can do. But for now, classes will be 5 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays, and we'll run for a maximum of 2 hours. Then let's have an open mind. I know that for like some of us did mention in the introduction that we've had some learnings before this time, but again, is depending on who is teaching, depending on what has been taught, the methodology of the teacher, there might be slight differences in the way some or the approach with which some concepts will be discussed with us. So I just want to implore us, even if I'm talking about something that you probably have heard somewhere else, please still be open to hearing me out, and then you then try to sieve out some of the or compare the information against what you had previously. If there are certain ambiguities that you need to clear, you could let me know so that we can always be on the same page on the call. But essentially is whatever we're talking about, whether new or something you've learned before now, please be open to absorb as much information as possible. Let's have one class. I know that for most of us, we probably have some other engagement, there are families, a number of other things around us that will cause us some level of distractions. It's important that we try as much as possible to ward this off so that while we are here for 2 hours, we are fully in the class. Participation is key. This course is fully hands-on. So this session we are having today, the introductory session, might actually be the only session where I'm using slides for the most part of it. So maybe when we get to maybe a few sessions, 1, 2 sessions would have we use a bit of slides, but most part of this training is fully hands-on. So I would like to implore us that whenever we are joining this call, please join with your system, have your system around with you so that whatever I'm doing in class, I would pause intermittently to ensure that we practice out some of those things too. And then there will be certain in-class activities that would want us to do. There will be classwork, and there would be assignments that we'll be getting as well. So it's important, please, every one of us, let's try as much as possible to participate. Let's regard ourselves. I know maybe in this class I might be the youngest in the class, but pardon me. Just for the sake of this class, I would like that we address ourselves by first name for the sake of this class. Of course, if I meet us outside, if I need to portrait, I probably would do. But for the sake of this conversation, please let's leave it as on a first name basis. Let's mute our microphones when we are not speaking. If you want to say anything, please, you could just signify by using the raise hand icon on Teams. You see that's right at the top. So you can use that whenever you say something or you have an observation, whatever it is, you can cut in, but use the raise hand icon. Once I see that, I would allow us to speak. It's just so that we have a coordinated atmosphere, and let's ask as much questions as possible. Whenever, sorry, say that you may need to mute your microphone for now. So whatever things I'm discussing, if you have any gray areas to clear, you should please do that while we're still in class. And so you don't go home with ambiguities or things that you're not certain about, or you have so much doubt about some things. Please, let's try to clarify all of those in class. And the way the classes would run is, yes, I said we have 2 hours maximum to run each of the sessions. Most times the entire conversation will probably end 15 minutes to the end of the class. So we have a leeway of say 15 minutes or slightly more than to take questions and whatever clarifications we want to make. All right. So what are we going to be learning in the course of this conversation? 3 things, 3 tools. But beyond the tools, we'll be learning a lot of concepts. So the data related concepts that I'll be talking to us about, that my other colleague will also be mentioning a few of them concepts to us. Because for me, the way I see the way I train is I don't just want to train on the tools. I want to train in a way that if tools change, we should not become irrelevant. And this is what I mean. In the data world today, there are a lot of tools in the data world today. And a number of them will still even come that we don't know now. So what happens if you are in an organization today, you're accustomed to some specific tools, and then you switch to another organization that are using different set of tools entirely? How do you cope? So the way you cope is if you understand the foundations of what you're doing clearly. You're certain about all of the fundamentals. You know why you're doing what you're doing. Then what you need to learn at that instance is on this particular new tool, how do I navigate my ways? And then you are in. So that is why a few times I might seem to be heavy on concepts so that we understand why some things are the way they are. And then at other times, we'll focus on the tools for analysis. And for the course of this training, we'll be talking about SQL, Excel, and Power BI. So we'll be starting the course with Excel, then would run some sessions for SQL, and then we'll come back to Power BI. So for Excel and Power BI, I most likely will be the one to facilitate those. And for SQL, the other person that I mentioned would be the one to facilitate that, most likely. All right. So like we probably have read in one of the mails that I sent to us, we're not going to be taking Python as part of this course. And the major reason is that I do not actually want that we have this training running to 3 months or more than that. So because when we have 2 lengthy trainings like that, it gets to be tiring. So we don't have as much learning span as people used to have in the past. And again, because this is happening virtually. So we're limiting it to these three tools for now. So depending on our decision and participation, whatever we observe during the course of this training, we might actually schedule a few sessions for us on Python, which will be at no cost. But I'm not promising now. There are conditions around it that would make us decide whether that will happen or not. But for the course of for the next 2 months, we would have we'll be looking at Excel, SQL, and Power BI. So this is the overview of the program. Minus today, we would have 8 weekends to run. So which means this training is going to run into the first weekend in March, most likely, if I'm not mistaken. A calendar invite was shared with us that has all of the dates till when we expect that the training would end. So please, if we got the invite, but you didn't plug it into your calendar by way of just accepting that invitation, we may not necessarily send reminders when we have every single session. So the reason why we sent that calendar invite is so that once you plug it into your Gmail, you get Gmail reminds you when it's probably 30 minutes to the session, and you can adjust on whatever needs to be adjusted on before the class. So the course will go for 8 weekends, which is 4 hours per weekend. So that's a total of 32 hours of learning. Then, because we said that we'll be going through Excel, SQL, and Power BI, we would have 3 major assignments at the end of each of them. So 3 major assignments. What it means is when we are done with Excel, we'll have an assignment, more like a mini project. Then when we are done with SQL, you'll have another mini project. When we are done with Power BI, you'll have another mini project. But in between each of the sessions, apparently more like every weekend, you would have an intercession assignment. So for example, now next weekend, Saturday, Sunday, we'll go through Excel by God's grace. And then which means that by the end of Sunday's class, you should be getting an assignment that will be due for submission before the weekend that follows. So those will be some intercession assignments. Then at the end of each of the course, each of the tools would have a mini case study to look at. And at the end of the entire program, would have a capstone project that would make us put to use every single thing that we would have learned in the entire program. So that would happen at the tail end of the program. There will be a lot of learning to happen. We are going to have one or two case study reviews, depending on how we are able to manage our timelines properly. So, but we project that would have two. And these case studies, they are actual job or recruitment case studies from prominent organizations. So we have carefully selected, we have a few of them in our banks. So we have carefully selected a few. So we'll be looking at two majorly, most likely, and we're going to be talking extensively about how are we supposed to approach this if eventually when you want to finally pivot into a data related role and you are to go through a case study like this in the recruitment process. How are you supposed to approach it? What are some of the things that the technical recruiters will be looking at when they are reviewing your submission? After the training, we have post-training support for us. What post-training support mean is that if, for example, after the training, you're trying your hands on a few things, you're getting stuck here and there, then you need assistance, you can always reach out to us. Another area of post-training support is maybe eventually you get a job and then you're finding it difficult in getting your feet around some assignment, job related tasks and stuff. You can also reach out to us. We'll be happy to support. Also, we have a post-training webinar. So after the training, we should be having a monthly webinar. The training ends in March, so end of April, most likely we'll have our first post-training webinar. And the way we are going to design the webinar is in such a pattern such that there are certain things that are a bit more advanced that we should not take in class, but they are needed in the job space. We are going to be looking at some of those things by way of just exposing us to some of the further possibilities and some other things that might come our way when we eventually start applying some of the learnings in the different spaces that we find ourselves. And we also be creating a community out of this. So this actually will be the first cohort for ID analytics. So a lot of the trainings that we've had before now were not done under this umbrella. So this will be the first one under this umbrella. So we're looking at creating a community out of this, whereby for I think a few of us know that we have a WhatsApp group. Maybe somebody is on that group, but I actually locked that group for now because I don't want us to be distracted. So we are focused for now. All of our communications will go via mail. And when we're done with the training, we add us all onto the group. And there we create a community out of that, wherein we can further individually collaborate with ourselves. And also we can go further to support ourselves, whether we hear about one opportunity in our own company or the other you want to share with people, we can have that as well. So let's begin now. Like I said, so we're going to round this up before latest by 6 p.m. If there's any question whatsoever about what I've discussed so far, please we can ask. So I don't assume that everything I mentioned is clear. Any gray areas? Okay. I want to assume that we are good up to this moment. Brian Herbert is said, the capacity to learn is a gift. You having the capacity to learn is actually a gift. And when we say that something is a gift, it actually does mean that that thing may not be with every single person. But the ability to learn is a skill. You intend to learn and you are able to learn what you actually intended to learn, then you have the skill. I'll come to a few of these things. And lastly, said the willingness to learn is a choice. The capacity is a gift, the ability is a skill, and the willingness is a choice. From the explanation that was given to this is that for whatever thing is a skill, it means that that thing can actually be learned. So which means if we observe, maybe in the past times, you've noticed that when you try to learn a few things, maybe you get tired easily, maybe you get bored, you feel like giving up, you don't get the motivation to continue, then you probably do need to learn how to learn. You might need to learn how to learn. And what that means is that you need to go back to sit within yourself, think deeply within, and see how you can just a second. So it means that you probably just need to look within to see what are some of the things that you're doing wrong, or are you actually learning at the wrong time? Are you learning with the wrong mode of learning, or are you learning with the wrong resources of material? Some of these things are things that you need to check, because I know that for me, for example, the training that I had on data analysis that was actually impactful, most impactful for me, was not the first training I had. I had taken a couple of courses, and then things were seeming, not clear, complex. I wasn't able to flow along with a lot of those things until I stumbled on a particular program. I attended it, things became clearer, and then I was able to build on some of the things that I learned from there. But the bottom line is, we probably have learned some things around this in past time, and you seem not to have gotten some of those things. The problem might not be with the person that trained you. The problem might not be, or the issue might not be with the resources that you used. The issue might not be with maybe what you were exposed to. It might just be with how you learned. The issue might be with the timing. Maybe the timing did not work for you properly. Maybe you're somebody that, yes, you are in class, but you don't get everything in class at once. You need to go extra mile. You need to go review the resources a couple of times. If you are that kind of a person, please, you need to do that. If you are such a person that after you have learned some things in class, you need to then do a lot of exercises so that what you had learned in class gets to sit well with you. Please, you need to imbibe that. What I'm saying in essence is this: there are individual differences. And what we're doing at ID Analytics is not that we just want to tick the box that we have trained people. No, we want it to be that we train our participant, and at the end of the day, every single person that had expectations before joining the course would be able to say that, yes, my expectations were met. That is the goal for us. That is what we are looking forward to getting at the end of this program. So I'd like to move a bit faster now. Introduction to data. To us, what do we think data is? I said at the start, this is the classes will be quite interactive, so I'll be asking questions as we go along. All right, so what is data to us? You've heard about that before, or you just want to tell me what the difference between data, information, and insight? Anybody? Who wants to try? Who wants to try? Okay, if when I need a volunteer and nobody is volunteering to speak, then I probably will call everybody. Okay, Abdulhamid has saved us here. Okay, please go on.
So from the little idea I think I have,
Mhm.
I think data would be a collective form of information, so collective representations of informations, and
Mhm.
information is individual. Um, I really cannot pinpoint a lot about the informations, but the insight is what they represent. The insight is what you can derive from the loads of information from the data. This is from my layman perspective.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Abdul Hamid. Anybody else? What do you think of data, information, and insight?
Good evening.
Evening,
From my
Babatunde.
end there, I'd say data is raw fact that can be processed into insight. So those raw facts could be likened to the information. So data, we could say, is raw information that we can process, and then that will now give us insight. That means you're making sense of the information to give us insight.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. So what I can pick from our submissions, that's Abdul Hamid and Babatunde, is that insight is at the tail end of everything. Data is at the start. And this is in reality correct. Let's look at it in this way. When we talk about data, you go into a store, for example. When you walk into a store, you request to buy some loaves of bread. You got that, a receipt was issued after you made a payment, and you're leaving. You're coming into the store to make that purchase actually would generate some data for that store. An example of the data that would be generated will be about yourself as a customer, which is maybe your name, maybe they have details about your location. They probably would want to log the date of the transaction, the amount of the transaction. They want to log what branch of their store, because they may have a number of branches for the store. The customer, the sales representative that attended to you, the person who checked your purchase. A lot of data would come out of that. So now, this that came out as a result of your own transaction with them, that is data. That is the raw fact about an event. When that is logged, Abdul Hamid had that transaction Adedamola also went into the store, the same store, bought a few groceries. Ike went into the store, bought a few groceries as well, or some other items. That will keep generating lots and lots of data for that store. At the end of the day, the store might say that maybe every single day we want to close our accounts and we want to know how much did we make um, during the course of the day, how much did we realize. So now somebody will do some brief calculations to say that for this particular day, today, the 5th of January 2025, all of the transactions that we had today amounted to 2 million naira. When the person tells us that the transaction that we made today amounted to 2 million naira, that is an information about our data. The data is the raw thing. Every single transaction that came in was logged on a system. Then somebody goes into that data and starts to do some summaries based off that data to say that, okay, this is the total amount we made today. This is the total unit we sold today. This the total number of transactions that happened today. All of those are information about the data. Then someone now goes further to say that, yes, we made 2 million naira today, but the 2 million naira we made today was actually 5% less than what we made yesterday. So maybe the previous day we made 2.1 million naira, for example, and today we made 2 million naira. Somebody is now telling us that, yes, when we compare what we made today against what we made yesterday, then we would say that we actually made less today than yesterday, which amounted to a negative 5%, because our sales yesterday was more than our sales today. Then we are beginning to get insights from our data. So insights are things that businesses need to make decision. Businesses do not need information, essentially, but information would be gotten from data, and your information will lead to insight depending on your thought process about how you can translate that into insight. Does this make sense to anybody? Does this make sense to us? Is that clear to anybody?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Babatunde. Please, I like to get feedback. I want to be
It's
sure that
clear.
we're getting stuff. Okay, thank you, Abdul Hamid. Um, okay, Saidat, you have a question? You can unmute your microphone if you have a question. Okay. Timlay, you wanted to say something as well?
Yes, I think it's clear, sir.
It's clear. Okay, good.
Mhm.
Adedamola Ike, are we on the same page?
Yes, we are. I mean, yes, I am.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay, so when we now talk about data that we gather, there are actually three types depending on the structure of the data. We have structured data. So many times when you look at data in Excel, for example, the data you see in Excel is actually structured. And when we say the data is structured, it means that the data is sitting in rows and columns, maybe in a table format, just to be explicit. And every single data or data set that you want to work with in this space, in the data space or in the course of your data journey, must assume this form. Otherwise, you would not be able to work with it in an efficient manner. So when we say a data, you're getting a data from whatever source, you're getting a data from whoever, you need to ensure that the data is structured before you go on to perform your analysis on that data set. And how do you know that your data is structured? What are the signals? What are the indicators? What are the things you need to look out for? All of those are things that we'll look at in the course of this conversation. But have it with us that a data that is structured will be data that can sit in a table format. We have data that is semi-structured. It means that the data cannot perfectly be fixed into a table, but the data still has similarity to that can sit in a table. An example of this is data that is in CSV formats. So we probably have worked with CSV files before, or text files before, so which has the extension of .csv or .txt as the case may be, or JSON files. Some of these might seem a bit new to us now, not to worry, but just have it in mind that whatever data that is in CSV format, that is in text format, then that data is semi-structured. It is close to it being structured because it can be converted simplicity to a data that can sit in a table format with just a few transformation as the case may be, but it is pretty close to that. And lastly is unstructured data. This is a data set or a kind of data that has no structure at all. For example, audio files or your media files generally, audio, video files, all of those, they are forms of data too, because when you look at a, an audio file in itself is actually nothing but data behind it. So there are a lot of zeros and ones behind it. For some of us that came from computer science background, but I don't want to bore us with that. But just an example of unstructured data is that comes from audio files, media files generally, and like that. So structured means the data is in table format. Semi-structured, it cannot sit perfectly in a table. It needs one or two things to be done on it. An example is CSV, TXT, JSON. JSON is JSON, JavaScript Object Notation, XML, and some other formats like that. But we'll probably still come back to some of those things. Unstructured, those are examples are your media files. Saidat, I see your message on the chat. You said it's not clear. What exactly? Do you have a question specifically? Any specific questions? I'm not sure if Saida is here. Okay. So why data analysis? Why do we think organizations would want to employ analysts, for example? Why? That's a question to us. Who wants to go on that? IK, please go on.
Well, the whole idea behind it is the insights derived from data usually would help with decision makings. And what do I mean by decision makings? It helps the business grow. I mean, they take the right steps to achieving the next big thing. In the end, the business is then profitable depending on what aspect or what angle you're looking at it from.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And like Ike said, data analysis, organizations would want somebody to look at their data because they want to understand some things about their data so that they can make a decision about their present and the future, which ties to some kinds of analysis that organizations would want to run. Well, before I go into that, one of the important things, and again, for some of us that we actually do wish to go into full data analysis roles, one of the key things you should have in mind is that for organizations to make decision that they want to hire an analyst and put all of the infrastructure in place, they are making a lot of investments. So for most of the tools that organizations would use, the SQL Server, Power BI, Excel, they probably would have paid for all of these in dollars or whatever amount. And then they hired a specialist who would sit to work with these tools to get out what would be meaningful to the organization. So it's a lot of investment. So at the end of the day, they are making that investment so that they can get something meaningful out of the data that would impact decision making for them, that would help them to make more money. That's the bottom line. Every single organization, they are running analysis so that they can keep themselves in business, so that they can be ahead of competition, so that they can make more money. That is the goal. So that is the reason why when we talk about analysis in that regard, we need to understand where do all of these kinds of analysis fit in into the types of analysis that we run within organization. There are basically four types of analysis that we run in organization. If you read about this in some other school of thought, they will tell you five. Some might want to shrink it down to three again, some a bit of six, depending. But I think that these four are the ones that most organizations actually would be looking at whenever they have people within the organization running analysis for them. The first is descriptive. When we say descriptive, is from the word describe, and describe means that we are talking about something. We are making a narration. So descriptive analysis actually answers the question, what happened? It is we talking about the past, what happened in the past. Recall the scenario that I painted earlier, wherein we have a store that is recording transactions, and then at the end of the day, we want to know what happened that day. When we get an information about what happened that day, the kind of analysis that we have done in that regard is a descriptive analysis. I would like that we take a few notes if you have not been. And yes, the recording of this will be shared as well. We have diagnostic analysis. Diagnostic analysis implies a situation where, after knowing what happened, we want to take this further to know why certain things happened. Going back to that same example, we have seen that today in our store, we made less than what we realized yesterday. Then the next question that the business may want to know is, why did that happen? What was the cause? Was it because we had lesser people, lesser salespersons on board, on duty on that day? Was it because we didn't have a few products that people were asking for? Was it because just today we increased prices of some product? Was it because the environment was not so conducive for people today because there was power outage? We were not able to put up our generator early enough. Some of these are things that would come out when we probe further than saying that we made 2 million naira today. So we want to know, why did we make less than what we made yesterday? Or what did we do differently today that made us have more sales than what we had yesterday? So that's diagnostic analysis. Remember, descriptive, what happened? Diagnostic, why did it happen? It's just like diagnosis. The third kind of analysis is predictive analysis, which is a way of saying that, yes, we know what has happened. We know why certain things happened, but we want to know what will most likely happen tomorrow if we continue this way. So it's just a way of saying, technically, by predictive analysis, one of the key things that people do here is to do some forecasting. Some of us would have heard of the word forecasting. What it means essentially is, for example, an organization may want to forecast their revenue to look at in the next 1 year. So this is January now. At the end of the year, by December, what will our revenue look like? Last year we made 1 billion naira. The year before we made 5 billion naira. The one before that we made 2 billion naira. What do we project our revenue to be at the end of this year? And before you can run predictions, you need to leverage on past data. You need to have gathered data about your business for a while, and then you now have some techniques that will look at that data to understand the pattern within that, which now would use that to forecast into the future to say that if the patterns continue this way, this is likely what's going to happen. So that is predictive analysis, which is talking about what will happen or what will most likely happen. That's the better way to say it. And then we have prescriptive analytics. So prescriptive analytics, you are prescribing a medical doctor after diagnosis. The person would have figured out, okay, this probably are the problems, then this is what you should do. So it's now prescribing. So prescriptive analysis is asking the question, what So this ties more to, for us as analysts, it ties more to recommendations. For data scientists and other guys, it might tie more to doing some level of machine learning again before they can make some level of recommendation. But again, here you need a lot of domain knowledge. Domain knowledge, when we hear of domain knowledge, what that means is that you understand the domain that you're in. So if you're working as a business data analyst, for example, or a business intelligence analyst in manufacturing, you need to understand the business of manufacturing, because when you understand the business of manufacturing, that is when you would be able to now say, based on what you've seen in the data, all of the patterns, this is what you are prescribing, this is what you are recommending to the business to do that would profit the business. So essentially, these are the four kinds of analysis. Descriptive, again, talks about what has happened past. Diagnostic, why that thing happened. Predictive, what will most likely happen. Prescriptive, what should we do if certain things happen. So these are the kinds of analysis, and this would form the basis of what every other thing that we'll be talking about would be around. So I think this will be a good place to put it to a out today. This forms enough of introduction into data analysis. From the next class, we'll start with Microsoft Excel, and we'll be starting from the very basic. Yes, when I say basic, yes, some things are pretty basic there, but gradually we'll start looking at some techniques. So in the next class, talk about data entry, we talk about data validation, a few of those things. But let's just keep our fingers crossed. We'll be looking at those in the next class. Any question today? Okay, Saidat, you said you're having problem with your mic. You're not able to unmute yourself. Okay, that's fine. About explanation of data. So data, essentially, what I explained there, data, information, and insight, is data is the raw thing that you gather. You are a student, for example, you're in school or you work as a teacher. Every single thing that you record about your student, that is data. So now you're preparing the report card. In English, the student scored something. In mathematics, scored something, and you have recorded all of those. That is data. Then you now say that the students, on average, the students had 57%. That's average of the total score. That is information. So now you have an information from the raw data to say that the students had 57%. And now that way may not make so much sense yet. But if you go further to now say that when we now rank the students against every other student, we see that the student came sixth in class. That is now insight. That is telling us much more about the student to understand the position of that student. So data is the raw thing that you gather. Information is when you perform some computation on your data, you get out information. Where you now go a bit further by doing some comparison, by doing some correlation, some regression stuff. Don't worry about all of these things. We'll come to them again. But that is when you now begin to get insight from your data. Does this make sense to you now, Saidat? So I'll be expecting your point on the chat. And against the next class, please, you might want to look at your audio as well. All right. Any other question from anybody before we call it a day? Any other question? Adedamula, you have a question? I see you tried unmuting for a couple of times now. Okay. If we do not have any, go on, sir. Okay. If we do not have any question, then this is where we'll draw the curtain for today. I will share the recording of this. So for those of us that we had issues with internet, we were in and out, we can go over the recording again. please let's have our notepad so that we can jot a few of the concepts. And from the next class, we'll start off with Microsoft Excel. As a reminder, please do ensure that you join the class with your laptop. The exercise files for the class, whenever we'll be having to use anyone, that will be shared with us ahead of the class as well. So I would like that we practice along, we follow through with all of those things. During the course of the week, if you if you have questions or you need assistance with anything whatsoever, you can do me a chat on WhatsApp. In case I'm not reachable over a call, we are here to support ourselves. Thanks again, everybody, and let's do have a great week.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great week.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, sir.